Welcome. In this video, we'll talk about how to add journal articles to your research faculty directory profile, perhaps from past institutions or names that you've published under previously. These may not be showing up in your record currently, so we'll show you how to adjust your settings in the symplectic elements to get those publications on your record. So let's start out in the research faculty directory. From the help page there, you can link to symplectic elements. So I'll click there. Or you can go to profiles.scholars.virginia.edu. We're going to start out on the home page for faculty member Andrea Denton. And it's stating that we're up to date in terms of publications in the system. But I see that there are only 3 publications listed, and I know there should be more than that on this record. There is an add new button here, but we don't recommend that because it's a very manual way to add publications. And we want to leverage the power of symplectic elements to connect to databases like PubMed to get our publication data. So to do that, we're going to modify some settings. So we'll start up here under the menu. Clicking there, we'll go to My Profile. Under Settings, we'll choose Name-Based Search. Here's really what we'll see under the hood, or how the symplectic elements system works. It looks at different databases, so we see PubMed and Web of Science. That's great for biomedical literature. And we'll see how it actually does the searches to retrieve publications. For this faculty member, there are 2 variants, a last name, full name, and a last name, 2 initials. It's really important that these reflect how you publish, and they may not be the correct settings from default, in other words, what the system provides. It also doesn't know past names, so if I need to add additional names, I can do that here. So I'll add Horn, Andrea. And I'll use the green plus button to add that variant. And I'm going to add Horn, A period, S period to add that quote unquote variant or option. So now these are 2 options that the system will use in looking for publications. It's important too to supply address information as well. By default, Virginia is listed here, but if you've published at any additional institutions, you want to include their names here. So I'm going to enter Duke and use the green plus button to add that. Notice I'm not using words like university or college because they're common words that we don't need to make this system work well. Once those have been in here, it's important to scroll down, and I'm going to ignore this information for now. But we have to save those settings. And unfortunately, that's down here at the very bottom right. But we'll hit save. And going forward, the system will use those options in searching. And you'll notice that it will do a search automatically. This is in about 30 minutes, but I don't want to wait that long. I want it to run my searches right now. So I'm going to click that button and it will queue up or get my search ready to run in PubMed and Web of Science soon. And usually this takes just a few seconds to complete. It's important to think about these names too, and whether you want to be very precise or very broad, and to realize you don't need to do your name searching all at once. You can start out just with the most precise names. Perhaps I should have only put in my initials here to see what happens. Excuse me. But realize also that we can always reset anything we've searched. So if we do a search and we get way too many, we haven't broken anything, we can clear those out and search again. So let's look. It says it succeeded. We're going to go back to the home button and we're going to take a look now. We had no pending publications before, and now it's saying that there are 13 for me to review as mine or not. In other words, to claim or reject. If I'm Andrea Denton, I'm probably going to know if these are mine or not, just on where I publish. But if you're working on somebody else's record, you can follow the instructions under the claiming video, which briefly say to go in and to look under these records using these buttons where they're available to check. You may see here that we have a record that doesn't match Andrea Horn or Duke or Virginia. And what happens is those institution names may appear anywhere among any of these authors. So unfortunately, it's not as precise as we would like. And that's why we'll get records like this at times that don't exactly match that author name and institution being right together. But luckily, it's pretty easy to quickly reject any records that don't belong to our Andrea Denton. So going through, hopefully you'll see some that you can then choose to claim or not. It should be pretty much going back in time as far as PubMed does. This record, I happen to know, belongs to our Andrea Denton, so I'm going to go ahead and claim that, for example. And working through, I can reject or claim. Notice also I can use the check mark buttons if I have a bunch that I want to claim or reject in a batch. So I can go through, claim those, or excuse me, check those, and then reject. After you've done that, it's probably best to go back to those settings and change them to just the information you need going forward. So I'm going to go back to the menu, back to name-based search. And once I've successfully collected all the Andrea Horn publications, I'm going to remove that from the search settings here. And I'm going to remove the prior institutions. Again, you have to remember to save, but we'll go down here and do that. And now going forward, the system updates about every 2 weeks. It's just going to look for these name variants at Virginia. So hopefully that was helpful in showing you how to use Symplectic Elements name-based search settings to add to your publication data that shows up in the research faculty directory. Thank you.